All right, everyone, welcome to Skafos. We are going to show you an end-to-end example deploying a machine learning model to an iOS application. So first we will log into the dashboard, and you're going to want to click Create a New Example App. And this will walk you through a step-by-step tutorial of delivering a text classification machine learning model to the edge, specifically to an iOS device. So Skafos is creating all of your resources here, and this puts you right into our integration guide. And so if you take a look, we link you through all the different things you need to do to get started. So first thing is you have to grab the actual app code. So we link you to a GitHub repository where you can use either HTTPS or SSH to clone, or you can actually visit the repo directly. So let's take a crack at it. I will open up a terminal, and I'm going to run that git clone command. So this will download all the contents from GitHub, and we will cd inside that project, text classification iOS. And we'll take a look at the contents. Inside you'll see something called a pod file, and we use CocoaPods as our dependency manager for an iOS framework that we built called Skafos. And this interfaces with our platform, and you'll want to include that in your pod file so you can work with Skafos in your iOS application. So you're going to need to run pod install. So the pod file outlines the dependencies, and this command is going to install everything you need. So once you do that, we're going to open up the workspace, and you can do that by running open with the name of your app.xc workspace, and this will launch an Xcode session for us to get started. So now that Xcode is open, we're going to actually make it full screen so we can see it better. On the left-hand side, you'll see two sections. You'll see our app text classification. It has a bunch of folders inside of it. There's also this pod section which contains the dependencies that we just installed. So we're going to spend most of our time, actually all of our time, in the text classification folder, which has the bits of code we want to work with. So we've opened up the app delegate code. And inside the integration guide, we provide you some keys, your production and your dev environment keys. And so if you're in debug mode, we want to use the dev key. And if we're not, likely because we've deployed our app to the App Store, we're going to use the prod key. So that's the little bit of logic you see there. I'll select my team. So I'm using a team that I'm a part of, and you can obviously set your own. And this is all you need to do to get started. So those are the steps. Now we're just going to clean and build. But first, actually, we'll select a device that we can use so we can simulate it. So we'll build it. All right, and the app build succeeded. So now it's going to actually install and run the text classification app. So now our simulator is up, and we should see the UI for the app display on the screen. There it is. So before we play with that, I'll take a look at the console. And there's a bunch of stuff going on in here, but what we see is Skafos making a registration call for the device. However, we are using a simulated device and not a real iOS device for this example. So the registration call failed because remote notifications aren't supported in the simulator, but that won't happen if you use your own device. So enter some random text here to the app, and we'll play around with a model that comes pre-bundled with this code. The classification score you get, 1 through 5, represents the polarity or the sentiment of the text, 1 being really negative and 5 being extremely positive. And so you can type in a bunch of different things as you see fit to just play around with it. So this model came by default with the app code that you downloaded from GitHub, that clone command you ran. We haven't used Skafos yet. And so we're actually going to head over to the Manage tab. And what you see here are 3 different model versions. We've pre-trained a couple different text classifiers, and they do different things. So the first one you already saw, which is a sentiment classifier. There's this other one, which is a spam or ham classifier. And then the last one is a topic or category classifier. So the next step will be to deploy one of these models using the Skafos dashboard. And so let's try to deploy the spam model. So you hit deploy, and we want to send it to our dev environment because this app isn't in the App Store yet. We're still building it. We're still playing around with it. So hit confirm and deploy. And now look at the environment card at the top right. You'll see model version 2 with a device count of 1 and the badge next to the model version. So let's see if we get that model. Go ahead and clean everything and stop it. And so because we're simulating here, we're pretending like we've shut down the app and we're restarting it. So we'll rebuild it. And there's the simulator. But now on the console, you see a pretty big notification come through saying, hey, we found a model that you've deployed, and we actually have downloaded it and loaded it into your app environment. So let's try entering some text again. And because we get a different classification result, that tells us our model successfully updated, and we're no longer seeing sentiment classifications, but we're seeing spam or ham classifications. So now at this point, you've updated your first model over the air with Skafos. And this is a big deal because previously, in order to do this, you would have had to drag and drop your CoreML model into Xcode and re-release a whole new version of your app to the App Store. But you don't have to do that with Skafos. We're here for you, and we've given you a deployment tool so that you can integrate and deliver models to the edge seamlessly. So if you feel like you've got a handle on this example, this very simple example, we recommend you go ahead and create a custom app integration, and you can do that on the dashboard as well. So this means you've likely got your own code base, you've got your own iOS project that you want to add a machine learning model to. And so we give you the interface to be able to create the necessary resources to get started. We also give you an integration guide, very similar to the example, but it's actually got more details in it because you're bringing your own code and you need to add Skafos to it. We give you a portal to upload model versions for the model you created. So as you are retraining and as you're updating models, or you need to roll out fixes or whatever the case may be, Skafos provides a seamless management and deployment space for you to do that. So that's all for today, friends. Thank you for listening, and check us out on Slack. We will be making more examples as we go. Peace.